Colorado. It's 4:20. Time to grind and burn.
This is not your son's stoner show.
Welcome back to the Cannabis Community Project, a weekly podcast high up in Denver, Colorado, exploring the new cannabis economy while living the lifestyle. Hey Cannapreneurs, let me take a second just to tell you about some friends of mine, as well as close sponsors of the show. Cushly Organic Products. The makers of Cushly have been environmental odor control consultants for more than 30 years. Their company puts out products that are used in hospitals, healthcare facilities, clinics, and homes throughout the United States and beyond. Cushly began as a product to help people who were going through chemotherapy and other patients who were in legal states but still not wanting to deal with the odor that medical marijuana brings when it is smoked. So Cushly has invented this very unique product that works like none other. I use it myself, and many of my close friends and family use it. What it does is it eliminates odor. It doesn't mask it. It's not a perfume. It's not a cologne. It eliminates it. And it's organic and it's non-toxic. Please check them out. They're good friends of the show, and there's a reason for that. It's because I only keep the best around my team, and Cushly is one of the best. www.cushly.com. Also find them on Facebook and other social media under the same name, Cushly Organic Products. Here we go, another week of the Cannabis Community Project's premier podcast, the Grind and Burn podcast. That's right, don't let it get too confusing. All I'm doing is just specifying a specific name for this podcast called the Grind and Burn, because I'm starting other podcasts and they're all going to be under the umbrella of the Cannabis Community Project. So I no longer can just say the Cannabis Community Project podcast or show or radio show. I have to be specific because we have the Crypto Cannabis podcast. We have another one that's coming out in the next couple weeks that I'm getting started on with a couple of fellers that I met the other night called Whatever and Weed podcast, and a few more hopefully coming down the line. So this one that focuses on business, as the name says, it's the Grind and Burn. Excellent. We have a great show for you tonight. You know, this Saturday afternoon, I'm really into the conversational dialogue. So I thought I would have you drop in on a conversation with a good friend of mine, Rick Miles. Some of you know him from Cannabis. Some of you know him from other segments on the show talking about personal use as a patient, Tourette's, and some of the other aspects of life. Today, we're going to get into another great conversation of some of his projects, talking about making hemp boards, and boards as in long boards made out of hemp, another project that he's looking at. And I hope you hear something that you can also relate to, because that's what these conversations are all about. Sometimes they're very straightforward interviews where it's just question response. Sometimes we just got to get in and talk about life in cannabis. And today it's about hemp and making hemp boards. So listen into that. But as always, before we get started, let's make sure to have our short-term memory flashback relapse to last week's show. Do you remember what it was? 1, 2, 3. See, that's why I have to do it. We all have bad memories. Last week's show with Viz.Red talking about the first show of the Crypto Cannabis podcast. That's right, learn all about how cryptocurrency Bitcoin is saving the world of cannabis. Dispensaries now have a location in alternative from banks, and patients have a way to invest in themselves for medicine. There we go. I'm keeping it lit with a lot of wind. But imagine this, right? 1 million people throughout the day giving you data about the price of weed they just paid, right? Versus the price of everyday worldly things. So in your database now, you're collecting 2 bits of information that might become valuable. One is an overall aggregate pricing tracking of price of where people report from where they are of what they paid for weed. So you're getting a first-person report of the price of weed from people all around the country or the world, right? The ability to have access to money in a way that is secure, but also a way that holds a certain amount of privacy and a certain amount of security with whomever you're in relationship with your government, right? That your security of money doesn't depend on who your government relationship is.
Yeah, your bank or your government or
Right.
your financial system. Yes.
We've tried to define how can we take this topic of cryptocurrency and relate it directly to people's lives where it has an impact. And what we've determined is that there's a way we can create a donorship investment type program for medicinal patients where people can invest in patients' lives by investing in Bitcoin and creating a self-funding program that over the course of time builds enough financial capital to self-sustain a regimen of treatment or medicine that is needed for some of these defined patients.
Benefits I see on a business end for cryptocurrencies in the cannabis community would have to be money and doing the taxes with dispensaries and things like that. A lot of the problem they're having is none of that money can be put into banks. They have to go through credit unions, something that's not backed by the federal government, something that's not insured by it.
Yeah.
Since it's only a state legal thing. And when you introduce cryptocurrencies into consideration, you no longer have a need to have the government-run banking systems to take tax with that.
So it's literally an outlet for money to be in placement other than under the bed.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. How much total do you think you've invested into some type of Bitcoin?
Oh, wow. I would say roughly 1,500 over the past 5 years that I've been dealing with Ryan. Yep.
Every Saturday, 4 o'clock is the meetup group.
Excellent.
That's where you can find us, and you can even be on the podcast to talk about the issues of cryptocurrency, but open to all conversation. So thank you very much for being on the first show. Hey, Cannapreneurs, are you inspired by the stories you hear? Maybe it's time for you to tell your own story. Do it right here on this show, CannabisCommunityProject.com, or email me personally, brainstorm at CannabisCommunityProject.com. Cannapreneurs, I have a little bit of news for you that I would like to share with you about something that happened this past Monday at an event I was at, the Lifetime Buds event, hosted by All Time High, Ari Love, putting on a monthly event that is basically a networking event for businesses, individuals, and those who are looking to get involved in the community and meet other like-minded people. It's a private event. It's one you have to register for, and it's a BYOB. Bring your own bud. So starting out this year, the event location was changed to Green Labs. Many of you know the place. Many of you have been there. Green Labs is one of those places that just has a great location for networking, good space, and even a good place in the city. Fairly centralized and out of the main residential hairs of people and not directly in the middle of any other real shops, for those of you that know the 5 Points area over that way. So I was at this event roughly 30-40 minutes in, and the cops show up based on a noise complaint, and I'm putting that in quotes, since it was 8:30 at night and roughly 25 some-ish people at this location in groups of 2s or 3s, quietly chit-chatting, networking, and doing personal consumption. No music, no band, no speakers, no center stage, no dancing, no party, not even a crowded area. Literally just a handful of 25 some people. And keep in mind, Green Labs is a good square footage location, so we're talking lots of space inside, not a crowded location. And off of of 31st and Larimer, roughly, we're looking at kind of industrial shop gallery type area. And after hours, when these events take place, no one's there. It's a barren land. It's dark. No one there. But somehow the police got a noise complaint. Somehow. And the police were accompanied by the owner of the building, who stated that Green Labs did not have proper zoning or permission to have events or parties at this location, that it was supposed to be strictly a co-working facility. So he asked that everybody vacate the premise, which everybody did, through the line of cross-armed, steroid beefed up police officers giving us their meanest, baddest look that they could. So here's the great use of city taxes, right? So we have people out there who are agreeing to spend your money, tax money, to do something that essentially is illegal. And let me tell you why. Because 4 years ago, when the people of Colorado voted this into the Constitution of the state, Amendment 64, the wording of it was pretty specific. And the wording was regulate like alcohol. So the question is, does a private event where personal consumption happening at 8:30 at night cause for a shutdown, a passive raid, if you will? Would that happen at a alcohol-based party? And here's the question. Who's going to stop them, right? Because they throw us out of there and everybody just goes their own way. And now the whole environment's chilled. Everybody's worried to go out. So they succeeded, right? The terrorists have won in that sense. We're taking our shoes off at airports and we're dumping out bottles of toothpaste and baby formula. Who's really winning here? Who's being protected? So when they spent, I don't know, an hour and a half of a few police officers to come down to a private location and kick out a bunch of people, how much is that costing the city, and how much is that in line with the laws that exist on the books? Regulate like alcohol. So how do we stop this? There has to be lawsuits, right? Who's going to step up and put their money where their mouth is and have the first lawsuit go all the way to the Colorado Supreme Court that clearly shows the city and the state is in violation of its own constitution by regulating cannabis quite differently than alcohol? There are things you can do individually. You can join organizations like NORML and some of these others. You can come down to events like the All-Time High events. You can get onto online forums, but you have to do something. Cannapreneurs, you cannot just be a stoner. You cannot just be a smoker and a consumer. You have to be involved as an activist. There is no other option. We're all involved in this together. And together is the only way we're going to win and get what is rightfully ours, as we, the people, voted into our Constitution. We want cannabis, and we want it at least regulated like alcohol. Let's do this, people. That's all the news I had for you this week. Birria. 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 Garro. Garro. Birria. Guarro. Garra. Garro. Come and be set free. If you want to live for me, you're not to be quick, you just tipsy. Walking up on the street, gotta be on your feet. You know the police coming if you're tipsy. We got to be set free now. When I'm rolling down, down. We're gonna go jail cell now. No way, pig, you not coming up on my. You walking down the street to the liquor store. Got to pick up a party before you go. When you're rolling up quickly, how you rolling up quickly be set free? Ooh. What do you do? She goes down, down, down. You will live in peace and me, and I will be on the street, and we will be running again. When we got to liquor store and liquor pony up some more, then I will live to be set free. What do you know? She
was the one thing too. I mean, one of the things that got me into trying to create the hemp boards is because there wasn't any. I wanted one. I started getting longboarding. I was growing marijuana, and the best I could find out there was, the ones shaped in a leaf. Something like that. And I was like, no, there's got to be something, But again, here in America, we don't have hemp like the rest of the world. We import all our hemp. So it's not very feasible for a lot of, I guess, manufacturers to create those. But looking out and doing a little more research, I found companies, like I said, the Vibronics company in Germany. There was a company in San Francisco for a little bit that was creating some of these products. And it basically is the wheels. And right now, the best I've seen is like a 70-30, maybe, 80-20 mix of the hemp material, the bioplastic, with like the standard polyurethane stuff wheels.
So we're talking about the possibility of a longboard company using cannabis-based raw material.
Correct.
Making it into plastics and other type materials for the longboard. But just the possibility in general of creating a business. Mm-hmm. You started talking about something that I thought was kind of interesting. To start a business or not to start a business. Was that Hamlet who said that? Or who was the Shakespeare guy?
It's been lost in translation, I think, at this point. But
that is the question.
Yeah.
To start or not to start. And you're teetering that line. What's holding you back from starting a business?
To start a business or not start a business? Well, I've always had the initiative and intent and pretty much anything I'm doing through my daily life to always try to supply or set myself in a place to start a business. Like I said, my main thing is I like to create things. Whether it be music, or art, or actual usable items, such as like a longboard. Just like craftsmanship, putting hands on things.
Is that why you like growing so much? Because it's a hands-on type?
It's a hands-on thing.
Activity.
It's something that is also very symbiotic. Initially growing it was for a monetary gain, and then it opened up to me to obviously so many other things, and then helped me financially. And so, going forth, and I got the start here in Denver, being in a company and learning and getting that real world business, everything within the cannabis community. I had to take a step back from that for a little bit, but it's one thing that always is still with me is growing this, because it is going to help me put me in the place to be able to give back and start businesses and start, creating and really add to the social kind of paradigm we're starting to move forward with. And so really right now is I want to start a business. I also want to put myself and my family in a place where that has a certain stability to it. The home, our health, our food, all these things have to kind of line up before, like I said, I can put myself out there. My day-to-day is really building those things around me so I can build upon later. And right now, it's building upon my grow. So that helps me and my wife and everybody else here with our physical elements, our emotional elements, or whatever it may be, just get through life. And then also helps us with the monetary gain to help supply our home, our electrical, all the basic necessities of life. And then also I work. So it's all these that are coming together to where I can get to that point and stabilize myself. And then that point, it's all about jumping off. At that point, I can take a little bit from work because I have more time to focus at home. And then from home, I can start building a new base.
Last time we talked to you, you talked a little bit about your Tourette's and kind of your upbringing and so forth. Mm-hmm. And that was very revealing, personal. Right? So there's strangers out there in the world right now that have heard your story.
Yeah.
How does that make you feel?
It's all right. It happens.
Does it feel cathartic knowing that you can kind of just talk about things?
I go through a daily catharsis all the time. I mean, I'm pretty...
You're always on the edge, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always there. I'm just, here's Rick all the time. So, I mean, people at work hear me. I'm loud. I put my chest in everything. I don't... So for, I tell my story all the time. People know a lot about me.
Do you think you're your biggest fan or your biggest barrier?
I don't know. I just don't think about myself too much.
No?
No. I use my mind when anything that pertains to me as just some sort of rotary device that just pumps out what's coming in, and then I'm giving it back out. So
an AB solution.
Yeah, because you can stick it in your head too long. I don't really hold too much back. For me, and that's a bad corrector of people, especially around here. I'm known as
you're the corrector?
Yeah, just people say things, or I have to be very literal. I guess maybe it's a certain Asperger's situation where certain things to me if you say them and it's incorrect, I have to correct it. It's in my head. It's like a twitch. You know, it's
Right.
almost like my Tourette's. It's
Like
it's
what?
a
Give me
thing.
an example. Like just a factual
Yeah,
situation?
or like a saying. You know, like people say stuff from TV shows and they'll misquote it every time, but I know that quote. I know it 100%. And if I don't get it out, like a sneeze, it just irks. So
You
I
have
have
like
to
a
say
photographic memory for
just
TV.
that, or
TV
just
lines
like
and-
facts about things. Like yeah. I forgot where I was going with that.
Well, that's all right. We were talking about in general this idea of you starting your business,
Yeah.
possibly putting together, some type of initiation. I guess the real question is do you ever get to that line where you jump across it and
Right.
say, okay, now I'm starting, or does that line not really exist and it's just a road that you just have to start walking down?
Oh yeah, it's just an exit. Really, it's an exit onto another road. And then that road's going to help lead to another one when I finally take that exit. But the on-ramp is coming. It is.
What would you call it, the business? Something longboarding or longboarding designs? Or
Yeah, no, I had a name because I also had a name for the clothing line to be associated with it. It's going to be Royal Worm.
Royal Worm?
Yeah.
What does that mean? What's the significance of that?
Well, I was going through a lot of different ideas at the time. I was trying to come up with a lot of different businesses at that time when I came up with this. One was building materials from hemp, like hempcrete.
Okay.
And hemp plywood and stuff,
Right.
and calling that, a business. And then I had this one I was going to do worms and stuff. I was going to sell worms and
Like Lloyd from Dumb and Dumber?
yeah, exactly. I have my little worm
Got
farm.
worms.
Yeah, the whole, like I said, I was going with a whole bunch of different kicks.
Right.
And my big thing too was going in kind of like marketing and design in my head. You got to get colors, there's shapes, there's a lot of things that you can play with people's minds and images and stuff. And something with Royal Worm, and there's a lot I could play with. I just saw a lot of images, a lot of things that I could put on T-shirts. I just saw a lot of cool stuff associated with that name. The colors too. It's kind of a throwback to like my mom
So
because she loves purple.
you're an artist kind of
worms.
by nature, thinking about the
I just
colors
think I
and
like to
shapes
think
as
things
the
through.
primary.
And that's is a problem when I was younger,
Right.
because I just thought things way too far through.
Right.
I create all these type of scenarios.
Well, I agree with thinking things through, but
Yeah.
I kind of picture it like when you're doing a layered picture,
Yeah.
and you click the button that says bring forward or bring to the back.
right.
I sometimes think like all those layers need to be there, but sometimes it doesn't need to be brought
Right.
to the forward. It
Right.
needs to be pushed to the back.
Yep.
Because
So it has to be a little versatile.
focusing on the wrong thing kind of deal.
Right.
Like the layer needs to be there, but not as the front layer,
Right.
kind of deal.
And so over time, I kind of learned how to kind of just hone that a little bit better and just think things a little better critical thinking. So following through, if I had this idea, this name, the colors associated, the images associated with it, what I can do with a worm, I could go everything from a very arty, like, Victorian age, or like go to the classical illustrations in books and stuff like that and have a very distinct look with that. Or I could go very cartoony with it and have them like with a little crown and stuff. There's all these avenues I could go down. It just seems like a very versatile name.
You have a graphic.
I have tons of graphics in my head.
Is it like a worm on a skateboard? or
I
the
had
worm is
some
being
graphics
ridden
at
as
the
a
time
skateboard,
that I was working with, but I don't know where they're at right now. It's still they're all still in my head. I hold all that.
What would be the basic machinery or tools you would need to make a longboard?
Mostly it's just basic wood cutting tools, like a table saw would be ideal, so you can get your exact cuts.
Thinking
and then
minimal,
press.
minimally
Minimally.
machinery tools.
Yeah.
What are you looking at? Like 50 grand and
Not even that. You're looking at
20.
maybe like 15, 20 grand to
15,
get
20
started
grand.
to where you can maybe pump out like 100 boards a month or something like that.
And
Something
then-
like a local store, or like a local.
Okay, and then some type of store with the size and some-
Yeah, I mean, you would need like literally if you could work in a shopping mall, that like one of those little outlets right there, and just have a back area. Now, I'm not sure with all the licensing and what you would have to go through inspection wise to have a production as well be a storefront, within a shopping mall or something like that. But ideally, that would seem to be.
I think like
that would be
a
the
warehouse.
cheapest. Warehouse would be
into
cool
a front
too.
Store, back shop,
Right.
type of area, and in a warehouse you would be zoned for doing work, and you could have people come in without it being in a commercial area to possibly do other things, like have a smoking lounge or
Right.
just a store or retail.
And that would be, ideally, Lynn, probably like, what is that, Lakewood area and all that area. They have a lot of, near Platte River.
Oh yeah,
they have a
that's
lot of that kind of.
That's by where I live.
Yeah, so they have a lot of, that kind of warehouse, but also storefront build. So, I've thought of that kind of thing. To me, location is just still something, me still being new to this area as well, is spotting that. You know, it's just trying to also be versatile. What can I do if A fails, whereas B follows?
All right. Well, what about this? What if you didn't need a storefront?
Ideally, I don't need a
yet?
storefront.
What if you just made boards? What would you need to just make boards?
And like I said, about 10, 15 grand maybe in
just start
tools
making
and
boards.
stuff to make boards.
Well, that's what you should do the campaign on, for the tools needed to start making boards.
Right.
And then just build a website and sell them to the website.
Because ideally, I should be able to just pump them out right here in the garage.
So what was it? Big worm longboards or what?
Royal worm
longboards. And it sounds like you already have your graphic put together. So there you go. There's 2 checks off the list.
You know, and I wanted to do like, you know, like limited series, like custom works and stuff that you can have like monthly, be like, this is the board of the month, you know. And then really, you know, from doing it here, I could outsource it to local shops here. Yeah. And then, you know, hey, because I knew in Arizona, I had brought them this idea before, and they were like, yeah, totally. If you make the boards, we'll sell them here in store. Right. So I know that's possible.
Well, if you do a Kickstarter on that, I'll throw in $50 and donate to that campaign.
Right.
And then you just need, I don't know, 1,000 other people.
Yeah.
To give you
and what it will
$20.
start out with will be, you know, it would start out with just being creating the boards, but that's the other thing following this is waiting for the hemp industry to move a little bit. So I can make the boards. I can make long boards. I can make Royal Worm. I can make the logo and the brand. I can make.
So you need a farmer to grow hemp,
but then
then you need a processor
I need the
to
herds.
break it down into raw.
And now there is ways to do it here and import them in from China or Canada or whatever.
Well, that would be against the whole.
I know. I know. So it's not only having that material and everything be in place, but it's also having a little bit of the science, which I've looked into a good bit. There's a lot of good stuff on the internet that you can find in order to try to make these kind of epoxy compounds, even at home. But then also have to find in what's the patenting, what do you have to go through for that, you know, like with the wheels, if I start doing that. But I believe that's already been established, like with that one company that was established in California, what you need to do for that. But there is, you know, with the wheels, especially certain safety ratings and everything have to be followed. But
no, I hate to say, basically outlined 80% of what you need to get the business going.
Yeah, I know.
So
I go through this in my
the
head.
money.
I'm missing
the money and the actual doing part.
It's not even just the money.
Other 20%.
It's just having that state of being.
But that's the question: does that line ever exist?
It does.
That you get to it, and you step over it.
That line is drawn when
I think the line's like an illusion, mirage in the desert.
No, it's a very finite. It's a tiny line. All it requires is me being able to pay my rent, being able to pay for my food, or at least grow my food. Preferably having my food being grown here, having my wife and her brother, and then my parents that are moving in, my sister, making sure everybody is taken care of, everybody's in place.
The only way they're going to be taken care of is by having some type of profitable enterprise in place, whether it's a job you work at.
But it doesn't take that much to have them in place. That's the thing. It literally just takes just an extra $1,000 a month to make everything happen, be perfect, and be fine. And I'm just working.
Never just takes what you think. Never.
No, it's such a very finite point. And it's coming very soon. In the next few months, I'll have my grow up to par. I have everything dialed in. I'll have
budgeting life as a minimalist is difficult because of inflation and taxes. Mm-hmm. So you're always fighting against less and less, and everything is becoming less and less anyway. So it's like exponentially becoming less and less all around, where you're kind of locked into, well, I need more and more, and the line.
But that's the thing is, I'm learning, and I've been learning over the past couple of years how to live with less and cut and cut and cut. And at the same time, where I'm cutting, I'm adding in things that are actually going to help build me. That's kind of where I feel that it's coming very soon, because there's a culmination of a lot of these principles that I've put in practice that are coming together to finally, you know, like I said, I'll have that line here soon, and I can jump out and I can make this business.
I know it's it's the most common thing I experience in my own life, and the most common thing I see other people experience is the waiting for the perfect moment.
And I'm such a timing guy. I am. Like, I calculate, like, I constantly run math in my head with, like, timing. I'll call it, like, we set a timer for the food up there. or we set, a timer for the water, and I'd be like, nope, it's been 16 minutes.
Well, you're kind of
and that's the
OCD
thing
in that
is with the
sense.
correction thing, I can't just tell you time. Someone asks you, hey, what time it is? I have to tell, it's 8:06. Someone says, oh, it's like 8:10. It's not 8:10, it's 8:07. I know it. Check the time. Oh, it's 8:07. Okay, I feel better. Like, I'm just weird with when it comes to big decisions, is that not only just affect me, but my family.
So you're saying
Like-
you would be obligated to a time if you chose a time. Mm-hmm. So then the obvious question is,
Right. But the thing is, I find the time.
Yeah.
The time comes, and it's always way.
well, that's what we were just talking about
It's just setting yourself
with the
up to
smoking.
jump
That
on.
if you have an ounce a week, you'll
Right.
smoke an ounce a week. If you have an ounce a month, you'll smoke an ounce a month. That's kind of the thing with time, right? It's like if you have 20 things to do today,
Yeah.
and you have to get them all done, 20 things get done in a day. If
you
you
give
have
them a week.
3 weeks or a week or whatever to
Right.
do 20 things, it'll take a week to do 20 things. That's not to say that. Well, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe it is to say that. What's the barrier? I mean, if you agree with the premise that it could be done if needed. Somebody held a gun to your head and said, start a business tomorrow. Could you do it?
Probably.
Well, there you go. The question is, if it could be done, why isn't it being done unless you're waiting for a perfect moment?
Oh, I'm not waiting for a perfect moment. I'm waiting for a few things to come together. There's certain things I wait for that perfect moment, but I always have, if that moment doesn't come, I have other things going on. So either way, it falls into place because, like I said, I have these other things that I've been putting in practice. At the other time, I understand how not to exacerbate myself to certain limits. It's just like with seasons. If it's winter, you're not going to do the things you do in summer, but you're still not doing nothing. You're
Right.
still doing these other things. So if this happens, X
Do you
equals
follow
Y.
a religion in any sense?
No.
No.
A cosmic religion, maybe. I follow by natural laws of nature, how things work on the micro with the atomic level to the macro, the way,
If you
nebulas
get
and
eaten by a
stuff.
bear tomorrow, it's like, well, I shouldn't have been walking in the woods.
Yeah, kind of basically. I mean, I don't believe in a good or bad. I believe there's like a four-way spectrum with it. There's good, there's bad, then there's progression, and
the
there's
ugly.
degression.
There's the good, bad,
And so
and
you
ugly.
can have good going progressive or bad going progressive or good going in a degressive or symbiotic, parasitic. These type of principles I kind of look at more than because they're more less relative
Right.
and less psychological or emotionally based, but more or less physically based because the terms you use are describing a physical thing
Right.
happening, not a metaphysical thing happening.
Is your drug use interfering with any ability to proceed in life?
No. If anything, just helps
Because
help go with the flow of life.
there's
The
people out
chaotic
there,
flow.
right, that want to start a business, but they don't do shit, right? And then there's other people out there who want to start a business. They do a lot of shit, but they still fail. What point do you look at yourself as a success? Is it just meeting that minimal, I've paid the rent and I've paid the car and I have my food and those little boxes you're trying to check off? Is that the
Right.
success?
No, I mean, the success for me is that my family that took care of me, that raised me, that helped sacrifice and to build me who I am, and the people that are currently around me that are currently helping me build me who I am are taken care of. And I say that in a way that they can take care of themselves, that they are not struggling, that if they want to work, they can work. If they choose, they need help here, and there's never a need, but there can be wants.
Wow.
I'm okay with that.
That's a lot of weight to carry.
But I understand if you don't have that, no matter what you do, it is bullshit because there's no other purpose for it. If you're not sharing
To
these
be
great
responsible
things
for
you
so many
do,
lives, though?
because I have so much that I want to do in such a big way.
But how
that-
stressful is that? To be responsible for multiple people to say,
Oh, it's
work or
stressful,
not to
but-
work, I will be the
Yeah.
carrier of this torch.
Yeah.
How can you eliminate stress if you intentionally pile it on you?
That part doesn't stress me that much,
No,
really.
that's not stressful.
Because, like I said, I understand. I know I could always provide the need. I know that if they needed a place to be and they needed food in their mouths, that would be taken care of. For my parents, for my sister, for my wife, for my brother-in-law, these immediate people around me, my grandparents, people that, like I said, I know in my life, it's not like a whole sect, 30, 40 people,
Right, you just
it's
want a little
certain
community.
core that I know and watch
Maybe a
through
wall around
my
the
life.
community.
I watched them sacrifice, be the humans, and watch them go through the becoming an adult, about to be 30, and understanding how hard it is to be human and not having these childish ideas of how people should be, and realizing that your parents were people and shit they did and the shit they went through. I mean, that's rough stuff. Or the things that they did, you can better forgive, all these other things. At that part, you realize that, man, I'm stoked to be here. I'm stoked to get where I have been, and it's because of these people. It's second nature. But that's the South, too. From birth, especially males are always taught you take care of shit. You open the doors, you make sure stuff's paid, you work the 80, 120 hours, whatever it is. So for me, it doesn't bother me. And I smoke a lot of pot, so I'm cool with it. I mean, it allows me to be that way. And it's cool that I have this, because now it's helping me bring a lot more relief to my parents, something that they would not have gotten in any other way, but only also just exacerbated things with the pharmaceuticals they were taking.
I mean, if you're going to carry multiple people, you're going to need some type of enterprise, because working a job is not going to cut it.
Well, it's not. It's also learning how to do this, but also still not need more money. Learning how to have my resources that I need to sustain the need. Like I said, shelter and food and love and family, I can still provide that regardless of things. And that, to me, is setting up land. And so my ultimate goal is getting land to where I can be in a place, pay a few $100 a year in taxes on the land.
But how are you going to get the money originally to buy that land?
Most of it's probably going to come, from either simplifying here first, as far as the food costs and everything, but also prospering in the marijuana. And then also
possibly hundreds of thousands of dollars of money.
It's not hundreds of thousands. It would take about
how much land are you talking about?
50,000 would cover finding about 5 acres of land. Having about 5 acres. I see 5 acres out for about 10, 15, sometimes 20,000. A lot of times depends on what you're looking for.
I would have thought a couple hundred acres.
Now there's some that,
because
depending on
talking
location.
About supporting how many people.
Yeah, you don't need that much for that many people. There's
farming and ranching, right?
I mean, farming, not so much ranching. Ranching would be the meat would be goats and chickens. That would be the only kind of
Are you taking into account how much food you're consuming every year?
Oh yeah, I mean there's so much resources on the web that has a calculation for caloric diet intake, your iron intake, or your protein intake, what you could grow, the seasons you can grow. It's all out there. I mean, It's not. I have compiled so much just studying this stuff.
So you want to live in the mountains?
No, not in the mountains. I want to live in a place I can grow at least.
What are you talking about as an isolationist?
No. I would love to be able to do it on, say, a couple acres in the suburbs. I would do that too if I could find that property. That property would be about $200,000. There's areas that I could find about an hour outside town, maybe near Colorado Springs or something like that. Durango. Wait, no, that's way too far.
Well, Durango is cool. It's expensive, but it's cool. I mean, that's where I came from.
But yeah, there's places out there I can find, and it may not even be here. It might have to be maybe another place I looked at is Oregon.
Get hit with all that radiation from Japan. And the weather.
Well, the thing is, I had to check it out for it. It's a lot easier because you can still sell to dispensaries. You can literally still grow, all these plants for caregivers or whatever, your patients, and then sell to dispensaries. You can start up a company there, like a edible company, out of your house, and literally sell to dispensaries and stuff.
Yeah, but I think that kind of regulation is going to come in.
Oh, it's going eventually, but it's
you can start an edible company here too. You just got to do it through regulation.
It takes a lot.
Get yourself a license and
a lot of money,
but,
a lot of competition.
Edible is not really the future.
No. But I'm just saying there's a lot of prospects out there.
I think the future is what you're talking about: creating raw materials from cannabis stock.
Because marijuana is one thing, but hemp production is huge thing.
I think creating, like you said, the rubber and the plastic and the other stuff for materials is a better business.
And my ideal goal, and like I said, the things I'm working at underneath the whole time is to get that land, some small homes built, cargo containers, or the tiny homes on the beds of tractor trailers or whatever it may be, have a lot of vegetation, which you can also sell fresh farmer gardens here. So like the markets and stuff, my parents could go and drive it up there. That gives them something to do. My sister and stuff can harvest and do all these other things. And then there, I can have a little workshop, work on my longboards, or I can work on my music. Another one of my top things, when I know I made it, is when I can go and play music and tour or do whatever I want anytime I want. That's when I made it. That's my ideal. Music has been my number one thing. That's just one of those things, too, that have been sidetracked for so long because, all right, you're a grown up. Here's responsibilities. You got to put it this way. Even it was put to me when I was in my band and doing all this stuff was like, all right, you keep doing this, but by the time you get 25.
Right. I mean, I don't think you could probably pursue the rock star life now, but you could still be, playing
I would love
Warriors
exactly
at a local pub for, playing.
I just want to play music.
Kind of deal. That's a realistic possibility still.
Yep. And that's the thing. If I had the land, everybody's chill, healthy, happy, and I sit there and enjoy what I'm doing, playing music, crafting boards, going, traveling, set up some businesses and let other people run it, start stuff and then just hand it off. I don't know.
So when should I check back in with you to see if you're progressing?
Yeah, probably by like April.
April, May. All right, so we'll check back in April. How about April 20th?
There you go. It's a familiar date for some reason.
Yeah, weird.
Well, we could do that. That'd be chill. We probably have a lot more here to smoke now. By that point, for sure.
So on April 20th, we'll sit down again and we'll track how it's
going to be a good year. It's already looking
If you get any cannabis or hemp production going, then let me know.
Yeah. I mean, I got a few guys I know that have access to large, and some of it's in Oregon, stuff like that, have, access to large amounts that they're looking to do hemp production. So I believe within this coming year, especially with legislation being recently passed this past year, that we should be hopefully getting really nice, good hemp for a lot cheaper and a lot more sustainability. What it'll do to the soil, what it'll do for jobs, it will change the world.
Nice.
Not only just in the diet, not only in textiles, people's minds, everything.
Well, that's what I'm looking for. Cool. Good little chat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go, Cannapreneurs. That's all I have for you this week. Thank you very much for joining us. Make sure to come back next week. And after the show, you can always carry on the conversation with us on all the social media, Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Google, Mass Roots, and so much more. Even YouTube. Stay involved because this is your community. So next week, we're going to have more conversations that you want to hear, more guests that are going to help us take it to the next level. This is your show, so come back. We'll see you next week.